Hi, this is Glenda, and today I'm making the soap challenge. You've probably seen several of them by now. So this is my take on it. There is about, I think last time I heard, it was 40 soap makers. Let me take temperatures. Light water is at 77 because I made it a couple days ago, and then the oils were 112. So first things first, I'm going to add the light water to the oils. Now this recipe that I have right here moves very fast. It moves faster than fast, like Lightning McQueen. So I'll tell you before the actually let me tell you which fragrances I'll be using. I decided to go natural for this soap, and I'll be using peppermint second distillation essential oil, and I also add a little bit of spearmint, and that's gonna be on the parts that are on color. Then I'm gonna be using lemongrass on the portion that's gonna be colored. Lemongrass tends to discolor to yellow, so I'm going to use that to my advantage with the design. So let me add this. In the meantime, I'm going to show you the sketch that I made. Most of the soaps are gonna look like the first sketch, and a handful are gonna look like the second one, where I'm going to paint the little prints because that is my inspiration. This is actually feeling warm, and I haven't started the blender yet because I'm afraid that it's going to move too fast, and it seems to be sort of emulsifying as it is, so I'm gonna just keep stirring for a little bit. And I decided to revisit the story. I read the chapter when he met the fox, and I found like the perfect story, the perfect paragraph, and I'm gonna put a link in the description box, but I'm also going to probably write that quote of what I read. It's when the fox is trying to tell him to tame him. He asks him to tame him, and then he explains what being tame is, and he tells him that for him the little prince is going to be like a sunshine, or like the sunshine. So I thought that's confirmation. Alright, quick blend now. Alright, this looks like it has emulsified. So I'm going to let it be like that, and I'm going to split this into two, and 1/3 of this is going to be fragrance with the lemongrass, and that should be 32 ounces. Here's the lemongrass, and it also has a little bit of Litsea. So I'm going to add the essential oil, and this part of the challenge is to have yellow, right? So the lemongrass is gonna give me that yellow into this portion of the soap, and another part is to have a botanical, and my botanical, one of them is gonna be the nettle leaf powder. We only need to add one, however I'm gonna be using two. Okay, so I'm just gonna whisk it in, and I'm going to put it a little bit. I'm gonna save a little bit of this into a container to make a layer. Should be enough. And then this is going to have the nettle leaf powder, and I'm going to put just about 1/4 teaspoon into it. So it's gonna be like a light green. Right now it's looking very light. Maybe I need to add some more. Let me add it, so it'll be total 1/2 teaspoon. So what I want this to be, it's gonna go at the bottom, it's gonna be the grass. Now I'm going to blend it so that it incorporates, and also so it gets a little bit thicker. Since it's gonna be at the bottom, I need it to be thick. Alright, I've reached light trace. I'm gonna go for medium trace. Alright, I think we're there. So I'm going to put this portion, which is now thicker, into the bottom of the liner. And this is gonna be the grass or the hill where the fox and the little prince are talking. Now, or for the soaps that don't have the little prince, because the little prince is actually still copyrighted in the United States. It's interesting because the guy who wrote it, he's French, but he wrote it while he was living in the United States. But both in the United States and in France, his works are still under copyright. Technically, in France they would be free, but because he fought and died within the time where there was a war going on, he got granted 33 extra years on his copyright time. I guess for his state, for his survivors. But he did write the story while he was actually living in New York. And if you haven't read the story, I would like to encourage you to read it. It's a kid's story, so it's actually quite an easy read. Alright, so this part, just from letting it sit, it has become quite thick. I do want it to be a lighter color. Alright, to keep it still natural while lightening the batter, I'm going to use kaolin clay. And I should have thought about this before. I really didn't think of it sooner, because I'm going to need water to disperse this better, and I'm gonna use 2 tablespoons of kaolin clay. Well, I mean, sort of close. And I'm adding that, and I'm also going to add the fragrance. Here I have mostly the peppermint with a little bit of spearmint, and that shouldn't cause any discoloration. And hopefully that's enough kaolin clay to give me, I don't think I'm gonna get a white tone, but maybe a lighter than usual. And then on top, I'm going to put the rose, which is represents the rose that the little prince cared for. He looked after her and he loved her. Now this part is the one that's gonna be yellow. As you can tell, it's quite thick. Looks like pudding. And I wanted to put some, like a layer of this, and later I'm going to try to use a swirling tool so that it looks as if it's the sun that is or the rays of the sun, because I also have an embed that I did before that's going to represent the sun. And that one I also color it naturally with, I let the fragrance color it. I use orange 10x, meaning it's the 10th times distillation. And I'm going to put another layer of this on top. First thing that I'm gonna do with the swirling tool is that I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom, and I'm gonna try to bring some of the green up to make some spikes to simulate the grass. My swirling tool broke, so I need to bring my other one. Okay, here we go. If you don't want to read the book, they also have made movies about it. Alright, I tried to go to the bottom, but the bottom is really stiff right now, so I don't know what that's gonna look like. Now I'm going to stay on the top, and I'm going to try to just blend the solid yellow pieces with what's supposed to be the lighter color. I don't dare call it white because I don't know what color it's going to turn. It might be more like an of white, like beige. Alright, now I'm going to try to finish. Oh, I almost forgot about my sun. Let me put the sun. Okay. So it's not a very even circle. But I bet a few of us are going to make a sun. I don't think this is going to be one of the best ones. But it's going to be off to the side. There's one. Alright, so I put the rest of the salt batter in the center. And now I'm just going to try to create a little heel. It's not quite thick yet to put on the embeds, which is just going to be the rose. And this smells really fresh. I really love the smell of lemongrass. Well, I do like lavender, but... And I was actually looking for, before, a fragrance that was a lemongrass fragrance. And I kept finding comments from people saying that lemongrass as an essential oil is cheap enough that it's better just to get the real thing rather than trying to get a fragrance, especially if you get it from suppliers who do wholesale of essential oils. There's a story in the book when the little prince came and there was a field of roses and he felt betrayed because he thought his rose had told him that she was the only one in the world. But then the fox explained to him that the rose had domesticated him in a way, meaning that for him, because he loved her, it was as if she was the only rose in the world, because it was special to him. So anyway, it's a very special book. I like it. So if you can read it or watch the movie, do that. Let me know if you like it. And I do have a video on how I made the roses. I'll probably put a link at the bottom so you can watch. But anyway, I don't have enough roses for the whole thing, but I do have what I thought looked like rose petals. So I'm going to put it in some of them. And I'm also going to put calendula petals on top. Okay, so here are the calendula petals. One of the good things about calendula is that it's one of the few flowers whose petals don't go brown on soap. Because most flowers, they tend to go brown after you put them in the soap after a few days. But alright, so that's what it looks like. I found some flowers to put on and then a heart to put on the spaces where I ran out of roses. And then I found two owls, which have nothing to do with the theme, but they're cute and I like them. So welcome back. It's been about 24 hours since I made the soap. I'm very curious to see what it looks like inside. Hopefully it's good. It smells really good. If you like lemongrass, the lemongrass is very strong, being a taupe note. Alright, so it's looking very it doesn't look white, it looks like beige. It sort of has like an antique look to it, like a vintage look, which is not bad, because if you look at the book, Antoine Exupery, and I may be mispronouncing his last name terribly, but he actually drew the illustrations for his book. Now, he wasn't an illustrator, he wasn't an artist like that, so his illustrations are sort of charming and a little childlike. So So I'm getting a lot of drag. Oh, see those lines? I'm guessing it's from the calendula petals, so I need to move this to its side. Let's see if this goes better. Overall, it's not what I envisioned. I wish this was lighter. But anyway, this is what it looks like. I'll take some pictures when there's better lighting, and then I'll post them next. About a week or two after I made the soap, I planed the bars to have a smooth surface on which to paint. Some of my soaps develop a rough texture. Not all of them do, and I don't know if it has to do with the fragrance or the essential oils or temperature or additives. I'm not sure, but planing takes care of it, and I get a really smooth surface and then soap corals. Alright, now it's time to paint it, and I'm using my face paints. I find that it's easier to use them instead of mixing micas with alcohol. And since face paints are usually used with water, what I do instead is that I use alcohol to activate them. They work very similar to watercolors, and they are cosmetic safe because they are proved to be used on the skin. So it's okay to use them on soap. The brands that I have here are Tag, Global, Wolf, and I have some other ones. But an affordable brand that you can actually find at some Michaels is Nadeau, or you could also buy it in Amazon. I'm going to put a link to it in the blog, and you will find the link to the blog in the description. They have some kits that have the basic colors that should be more than enough for any project that you may have, and you could also mix them together in your brush. The last step is to cover the soap with a layer of melt and pour clear like this one has, and this is gonna make it last longer. I mean, it's gonna make the painting last longer so that it doesn't fall off the first time that the soap is used. But I'm gonna show you how to do it. I actually learned this from Sorcery Soaps because she makes soap cookies, and then in a video she says that she covers them with melt and pour to make them last longer. So here's the melt and pour. It's about 2 to 3 ounces. It's more than I need, and you want to have more than you need. And I'm using a Stevenson's crystal clear base, if I remember correctly. So I'm gonna go melt this, and I'll come back. Alright, here I have the melted soap, and I'm going to spray some alcohol in it for some of those bubbles. Now I'm just going to spray it lightly from an angle to the soap. Alright, I think it reached it. So now I'm just going to pour it, and I'm going to keep pouring until everything is covered on the top or on the front. And that corner is not covered. Alright, so now I'm gonna spray it to get rid of the surface bubbles. And now I'm just gonna let it be. I'm not gonna touch it until it has cooled down, and then I'm going to take it out, trim the edges, and that will be it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you like this. See you next week. Bye. And remember to go watch the other soap makers to see what they did with the sunshine theme using yellow and botanical.